Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me, please? Kindly confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to this week's webinar. Thank you. We appreciate you. We're gonna give 1 minute to allow others to join the call. Since I think, we'll just give like a minute for others to join the call. In the meanwhile, please introduce yourself in the chat box and tell us who you are, where you're joining from, so that we'll get to know each other on the call. Thank you. Okay. Without wasting more time, I think we should just kick off from here. So thank you again, everyone. I hope I'm audible enough for everyone. Please confirm with me. I just want to know if everybody can hear me clearly, please. Okay, thank you. Okay, so before we forge ahead, I just want to establish some ground rules, which are basically muting your mic, that I'm sure all of us have done. Also, to communicate with each other with respect, and then to introduce ourselves in the chat box. So my name is Mary Dora Kamara. I am from Sierra Leone. It's my pleasure to meet all of you that are on the call. So please don't forget to introduce yourself again. I'm just repeating, So introduce yourself, tell us where you're joining from, what you do, if you're kind enough to do it. And then maybe share with us your LinkedIn profile or any other, social media platform that you're okay sharing with us, so that we'll be able to connect and, communicate further. Because this is more like a 1-hour webinar. So maybe we want to talk and collaborate for future purposes. So next on is our agenda for the webinar. So today we have 2 speakers, and then we'll start off with introduction, and then we move to how well we know Africa, and then we'll go to the first speaker of the presentation. They will have the opportunity to share their presentation. We'll do some Q&A. Then we go to the second speaker. They will do their presentation, and then Q&A, then we close. So Next is introduction. Introduction about Maggreen. I'm sure we are aware that Maggreen is the organization that's organizing the African Energy Series. So Maggreen is an organization that is keen on empowering young Africans with knowledge that is required to transition to clean energy, and as well as combating climate change. So it's an organization that was founded by 3 young women in Africa out of that desire to contribute to the fight against climate change in Africa. So the vision of Maggreen is to build a community of like-minded people and also organizations that are willing and also ready to put in the work, help combat climate change, help solve climate-related issues in Africa, and also make Africa a continent that's poised to clean and sustainable energy. So next we talk about the Africa Energy Series, which was kicked off early this year. So far we've been able to cover over 30 countries in Africa, and we are still on the move. So I'm sure it's not news that there's a significant knowledge gap among African youth regarding different climate actions, net zero targets, and energy transition plans that are in our respective countries. Though we are in the same continent, but we have different plans, like action plans that are working for different countries that they've used to successfully implement certain strategies or projects in their countries. So we want to bridge that gap across different African nations. So to address and bridge this knowledge gap, that's why Maggreen started the Africa Energy Series, which has so far covered like 30, it has covered over 30 countries in Africa. So the aim of this Africa Energy Series is simple yet very impactful. It's to educate and forge partnership between countries for greater good of the continent. Because if you share with me what has been working for you as an African country, I can easily imitate those things and implement them in my country, with the hope that maybe 70 or 80% of what you've done might work for me. Unlike copying or trying to imitate what is working for, let's say for an example, an African country copying or trying to imitate what's working for a country that is in Asia or a country that is in Europe. So you see that, what works for Europeans might not work for an African country. For a European country might not work for an African country. So this is the reason why Africa Energy Webinar Series was organized. And next, I'll take us to the Maggreen team. Maggreen team will have Meridora Kamara, who is the project coordinator. We have Suleiman Aishaba, who happens to be our communication and partnership coordinator. And then we have Georgette Celestine Udo. She is the design and technical coordinator. So I also want to, beseech us or ask everyone on the call to please follow Maggreen on all our social media platforms, be a part of our webinar series, and then, you can like our posts on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and X, and we also have our email address. If you have any questions, you have any suggestions, you have any contributions, which is maggreen360@gmail.com. So if you also want to see more updates on what's coming or what's new with Maggreen, you can check us on these platforms, and then you'll be able to get us. And for those that have missed the 30 countries, if you're interested in watching the replay of or watching the webinars, we have all the recordings. You can easily send us an email or reach out to us on our social media platforms, and then give you an opportunity to see what we've been doing so far. So next is our speaker, the first speaker for today is Mr. Mohammed Usman. He is a passionate agriculture climate professional. He advocates for sustainable land management through permaculture, agroforestry, and climate smart agriculture. He leveraged his M&E expertise and data storytelling skills to design impactful projects in Somalia's agriculture, livelihood, climate change, and disaster risk reduction sector. So without wasting time, Mr. Mohammed Usman, I'll give you the floor to take us through what you have for us today. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, Mary, I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
So, yes, I can. Audible enough. Okay, so let me stop sharing, and then you just...
Okay, thank you very much, Mary. Before I start sharing my screen, I wanted to thank Maggreen and all the team who have really organized this event. And I'm very much pleased to join you today to share and discuss some key insights about climate change in Somalia. I also want to utilize this opportunity to thank Aisha Suleiman, who personally invited me to this platform. And also, it is fascinating that three women are really trying to change the narrative about how Africans can connect together and share their experiences and how they are contributing to their development and the projects that are really contributing to the climate change and energy in their respective countries. So I'm very much pleased to come from Somalia to share some details about Somalia and how climate change is affecting in the country and how the people and the nation and also the government is now trying to address on climate change issues in the country. So I'm coming from East Africa, so let me try to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, that's good if you see it. Climate change in Somalia. Firstly, I think though you have provided an introduction about me, but let me broadly say I'm agricultural and climate specialist in Somalia. I have been into agriculture and climate change sector for more than 5 years, dealing with different challenges that are affecting Somali people, and really trying to develop adaptation and mitigation strategies that can help Somali people to withstand and cope with climate crisis in the country. So climate change in Somalia, we say, is a growing crisis. It is always growing and repetitive and actually affecting millions of people in the country, exposing their vulnerabilities to different climate-induced disasters. Okay, before I go dive into the climate change issue and the impact that climate change is now having in the people, let me try to provide some key information about Somalia itself. Somalia is located in East Africa, Horn of Africa, covering an area of 637,657 kilometers square. Somalia is bordered by Ethiopia, Djibouti, Gulf of Aden, Indian Ocean, and Kenya. Having the longest coastline on mainland Africa, Somalia has a population of 18.1 million as per the last date in 2023, which primarily based on agriculture, livestock, and remittances, although some people in the coastal areas depend on fishing for their livelihood. Major exports are livestock, bananas, fish, charcoal, and scrap metal. Okay. Now let us look at the climate and environmental overview in the country. When you look at the climate type of Somalia, Somalia has an arid to semi-arid climate, which means it is being characterized by hot temperatures and low. It is also unpredictable rainfall. Somalia's rainfall became unpredictable due to climate change, which means when you are expecting too much rains, then it become failure. And when it is a dry period and farmers and pastoralists are not expecting rain, then they will be huge floods and more is coming. So that is why we are saying it is unpredictable. In Somalia, we have 4 seasons. We have the Mila, which means the dry season. It started from December to March. We have good season. It is more like in spring. It's the rainy season, the main rainy season. It started from April to June. Haga from July to September, more like a winter. Some hot, days. People are experiencing some hot days and also some rains in coastal areas. And the there on which started from October to November, which is also another rainy season. When you look at the temperature, in coastal areas, Somalia have average of 24 degrees centigrade to 35 degrees centigrade, while inland temperatures can exceed about 40 degrees centigrade, especially during July, which means the dry season. When you look at the rainfall in Somalia, rainfall in Somalia is highly variable, ranging from less than 100 millimeters annually in some areas up to 500 millimeters in northwestern highlands. Although some regions in river areas and main agriculture production areas or zones receive more than 600 to 700 millimeters per annum. Rivers, Somalia has 2 rivers, Juba and Shabelle, which originate from Ethiopian highlands, and these rivers are very vital and important for Somalia's agriculture, although they experience seasonal fluctuation due to climate change and disease impacts. Now let's look at the historical trends of Somalia's climate. Starting from 1990s, Somalia has experienced more than 30 plus climate-induced excesses, including 12 droughts and 19 floods. So I'm trying to share some notable events or climate-related events starting from 1970s to 2023. In 1973 to 1975, Abati Debader, which roughly translated is long-lasting drought, occurred in Somalia, which affected nearly half of Somalia's population, highlighting the vulnerability to extended dry periods. In 1997, there was flooding, which affected over 1 million people, demonstrating the impact of extreme rainfall events. In 2011, there was a famine which was caused by 3 consecutive violent rainy seasons, resulting in the deaths of approximately 250,000 people, primarily children, and it was one of the most catastrophic climate-related events that occurred in 2011. Also, again, in 2017 drought, 6.2 million people, including 3.5 million children, required humanitarian assistance due to prolonged water scarcity. Also, 2019 floods, over 547,000 people were impacted, where 370,000 were displaced, indicating the continued threat of extreme rainfall events. 2023 El Nino-induced floods estimated 2.4 million people affected, including 1.2 million displaced, and 118 deaths, emphasizing the growing severity of flood events. There are the historical trends and key climate events in Somalia, starting from 1970s. Okay. Now let's look at the key issues or key climate change challenges in Somalia. Somalia is particularly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, and let's say it is one of the least contributing countries to the global warming and greenhouse producing countries. So Somalia did not have or does not have too many industries that produce greenhouse gases which contribute to the global warming and also climate change. The country faces recurring cycle of extreme weather events that have devastating consequences for its people and economy. So these are the most notable climate issues that the country and the people are currently dealing with. Starting from drought, this most frequent and severe climate-related disaster in Somalia, which leads to crop failures, livestock deaths, and widespread famine. Floods also another devastating climate-related disaster affecting Somali people and nation, causing displacement, infrastructure damage, and water disease. Also, cyclones are all affecting coastal communities and coastal areas of Somalia, which are susceptible and vulnerable to cyclones, and which can bring strong winds, heavy rainfall, and storm arches. Also, sea level rise and extreme temperatures are really among key climate issues, which is currently affecting Somali people. Okay, we have now talked about the climate change issues and challenges in Somalia. Let's now look at the impacts of those climate crises. When you see this drought, it means crop are really failing to really produce the food that people need to consume. Livestock are really dying, water scarcity, displacement of people from one area to another area, or even from farmlands to the urban areas or cities. Malnutrition and disease outbreaks are the key impacts of drought in the country. Floods really they damage the infrastructure. They also create displacement of people. And when you look at the displacement profile in Somalia, there are more than 2.5 or 2 million people currently displaced inside that country. So this means that climate-induced floods are really being part of one of the key factors that are displacing people from their, living terms. Loss of bone disease and loss of livelihoods are also another key impacts of floods. When you look at cyclones, infrastructures were easily damaged, houses, hospitals, schools were really affected. Displacement was another key issue related to cyclone. People are really spreading from coastal areas, which means that cyclones is disrupting the livelihoods in coastal communities. Properties were lost and disruption of essential services, education, health, and other water facilities were hugely affected. When you look at the extreme temperatures, heat waves and cold spells affecting human health and agriculture and livestock. This means that temperatures are really increasing and is affecting the crop production. When certain crops require certain temperatures, and those temperatures were really affected, then it means that they can no longer grow and produce to the food that we need. When you look at the sea level rise, coastal erosion, saltwater intrusion into freshwater sources, displacement of coastal communities, and loss of livelihoods can be the end priorities of this climate crisis. So these impacts can be exacerbated by existing vulnerabilities such as poverty, conflict, and lack of access are essential and to essential services. So these combined vulnerabilities are really, one of those factors that are really causing those the impacts of climate crisis. When you look at the feasibility is a key issue in Somalia. So now let's talk about how feasibility issues are related to climate change. So these are the issues and these are their impacts. When you look at the crop values, when you are saying crop values, livestock is means decreased food production, reduced availability, malnutrition, and hunger are the key issues that we can normally experience and witness: water scarcity or water shortage, limited irrigation facilities and accessibility, reduced livestock watering, and decreased agricultural productivity. So when you look at the land degradation, Somalia has been subjected to massive desertification, where people with has been cutting the trees for charcoal production. So this has really enhanced the level of land degradation in the country for the last 10 years or for the last 3 decades. So reduced agricultural productivity, increased vulnerability to erosion and salinization was the key impacts that I can notably actually say. Displacement related to climate change, loss of access to livelihoods, food sources, increased vulnerability to food insecurity, also market disruptions, price volatility, decreased access to food supplies and producer trade, increased vulnerability, as I already mentioned it, poverty, conflict, and lack of access to essential services are really exacerbating food insecurity in Somalia. Now let us look at socioeconomic implications of climate change. Poverty and equality, economic growth is also affecting the economic growth and development in the country. Massive migration and displacement are really occurring due to climate change. Social instability and conflict, because whenever there is climate change and resources become scarce and the people are competing for the limited resources, which ultimately creates conflict among people and pastoralities. Also, climate change is affecting health services and health delivery in Somalia. Also, the government institutions are heavily impacted by, because the government and public institutions in Somalia are very weak and they cannot handle the huge impacts of climate change. So when you want, now we can look at the vulnerability of farmers and pastoralists in Somalia, which are the main producing group of, or the main producing, which are the main group who can contribute to the economy of the country. Farmers and pastoralists are in Somalia are particularly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change due to their reliance on climate sensitive livelihoods. So when we look at the key vulnerabilities, are dependence on rainfall. Somalia's agriculture depends on rainfall, making it vulnerable to drought and floods. Because whenever there is no rainfall or rainfall becomes heavier, then it is affecting the loss of crop production. And when there is so many floods, at the same time, it is also affecting many farmlands, which eventually cause, loss of crop production. Lack of irrigation infrastructures, limited irrigation facilities make farmers more vulnerable to water shortages. Also, we can look at soil degradation, overgrazing and deforestation of degraded soil using cultural productivity. When we look at the desertification, climate change is contributing to desertification, reducing the availability of grazing land for pasturage, which is key in that in Somalia. Also limited climate information and early warning. Farmers and pastoralists overlap to climate change information and early warning, which hinder their ability to adapt to changing climate conditions. And also, when you look at how climate information and early warning are provided currently, Somalia is kind of fragmented. Different institutions are providing different climate products. So the procedures and also the channels that they are using to disseminate that information to the affected, people are really missing. And sometimes they are not a local grassroots level structure and community committee that are ready to receive that information and be able to digest those information around the community, and that will increase their preparedness to the climate crisis. When you look at food conflict and insecurity, Somalia's ongoing conflict primarily from Al-Shabaab and also conflict among the tribes sometimes and clans, and insecurity can hinder their production and limit access to resources. So we can now look at what are the barriers to climate change adaptation and implementation in the country. We can now look at the different factors that contribute to the Somalis cannot now implement properly climate adaptation strategies and projects. When you look at the limited funding, the funding that addresses on climate change issues is limited or sometimes it's lacking. So this can actually increase the vulnerability of Somali communities to the climate-induced disasters anytime. When you look at the infrastructure, inadequate infrastructure makes Somali communities more sustainable and more vulnerable to climate change. When you look at knowledge, lack of climate change knowledge hinders local adaptation in Somalis. When you look at the governance, weak governance structures also limit the effective planning and implementation of climate change adaptation initiatives. When you look at the data, the climate data is very scarce and there's no any data inventories that you can actually easily find. So this will hinder evidence-based adaptation projects in Somalia. Also, insufficient capacities among government staffs and institutions, resource scarcity, and community engagement hinder climate adaptation efforts in Somalia. There are certain strategies and policies which have been developed by Somali government to address on climate change issues. These shape how Somalis approach this shape the Somalis approach to environmental conservation and climate adaptation and adaptation. There is a National Adaptation Program for Action, NAPA. It is a Somali's national climate change strategy outlining adaptation priorities and resilience enhancing projects. There's also Somali National Climate Change Policy, which is a comprehensive framework that guides Somali's climate change response, which also outlining government commitment and setting adaptation and mitigation priorities. Also, there is a National Disaster Management Policy, which addresses on disaster risk reduction and preparedness, which are very essential for responding to climate disasters. Also, there are the additional policies, National Environmental Policy, National Determined Contribution NDC. Also, there is a National Forestry Policy and National Charcoal Policy of Somalia, which are currently under process. Somalia has also developed sectoral policies and strategies for agriculture, livestock, water resources, and other key sectors to address climate change-related challenges within these areas. So, what are the ongoing climate initiatives that we can say that Somali people and the government are really trying to address and cope with climate disasters? In Somalia, Somalia has taken significant strides in addressing climate change, beginning with the establishment of Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. This dedicated ministry serves as central coordinating body for environmental and climate-related issues in the country. So when we look at the ongoing projects under the Ministry of Climate Change, these are, the most notable project is currently being implemented by the Ministry of Climate Change. Cross-cutting capacity development project, global biodiversity framework early action support project, which actually addresses on biodiversity, Kigali implementation plan preparation Somalia project, federal government of Somalia in United Nations Joint Program for Sustainable Charcoal Production and Alternative Livelihood, and also institutional strengthening project which addresses on enhancing the capacities of institutions in Somalia that are really contributing to the climate change project in Somalia. Readiness and preparatory support is also another key project which is implemented by Ministry of Climate Change. Several ministries are also actively involved in addressing climate change through projects related to agriculture, livestock, fishery, and water resource management. These initiatives complement the efforts of Ministry of Climate Change and also Environment. Also, there are other initiatives which are locally developed. Actually, you can see the youth and also universities are really trying to establish entities that address on climate change. Youth are really establishing organizations and initiatives that address on climate change by planting trees, advocating for climate change, how climate change can actually be mitigated, and how adaptation strategies and plans can be implemented at the local level. So in Somalia, there is an international support and cooperation. United Nations organizations and other organizations are really helping Somali government and people to cope and withstand with climate crisis. They are providing certain measures. When you look at the financial assistances, international organizations and donor countries provide financial assistance for Somalia's climate change adaptation projects. The Green Climate Fund, a key source of climate finance for developing countries, including Somalia, it provides grants and loans for climate-related issues. They are also providing technical assistances. They are about building capacities. International organization is really strengthening Somalia's capacity to assess, plan, and implement climate change issues. When we look at the knowledge sharing expertise, they are really, sending key expertise that provide training and guidance how climate change adaptation and mitigation strategies can be implemented in Somalia. They are also providing advocacy and diplomacy. International organizations advocate for Somalia's needs, raising awareness of its vulnerability and promoting international cooperation. Also, international cooperation raises political and governance challenges in Somalia's climate change response. So thank you very much. That's my presentation about the key climate change issues in Somalia and how Somali government and people are really trying to address on key climate issues and challenges in Somalia. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share these key insights. And I'm very much pleased to join you today. And I'm really ready to receive and welcome you comments and questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed. Thank you. That was in-depth presentation. And I'm sure everyone on the call, we've learned a lot from presentations. Thank you. So, in the next few minutes, I want to take in some questions for Mr. Mohammed, if we have any. We should kindly just drop them in the chat box so that he will answer them for us. Please. So, Mr. Mohammed, from my end, so you spoke about the effect of climate change in Somalia, and you spoke about drought, and then you spoke about flooding. So is it that, like, during the dry season? Okay, I want to know, how long does the dry season last in Somalia, and how long does the rainy season last in Somalia? So I also want to know about what leads to the flooding. Is it excess rain or is it infrastructure? Because for my country, where I'm from, I would say if there are better infrastructure when it comes to roads, then I definitely believe that flooding will not be happening in my country. So it's because I think one of the major reasons for flooding in my country is because of the road infrastructure, the gutters, or where the water has access to pass is actually quite tiny and small. So if there are made, or if they build something better, I am sure flooding will not have issues in my country. Will not have issues like flooding, sorry, in my country. So I just want to know if that's the case in your country, or there are other reasons why it floods, or yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary. First, let me address on the first question, which related to the dry season. So in Somalia, we have two seasons, two rainy seasons. The first dry season, which starts on April to June, is the big rainy season. And also we have another rainy season, which we call that. It started from September to December. We have also two dry seasons. We call it Gilal and Dave. But these seasons and how I'm just saying has been hugely impacted by climate change. For example, when we say this season is a dry season and people are not expecting any rains, then that issue is not accurate because there are rains are coming because rain in Somalia became unpredictable. That means you are a rainy season, then the rains are not coming. Then that affects the farmers who were expecting to grow their food and their crops. Then when there's a dry season where people are not expecting and then the rains are coming. So those summer seasons are not currently arranged like that way due to the climate change and its effects. We can simply say that. But so whenever there is a rains, rains are not simply normal. They are bigger than the average. For example, Somalia receives up to 500 to 600 millimeter per annum in some areas. So you can actually receive more than above average, more than average rains, which leads to flooding in many parts of the country. For example, the last El Nino in October, which started in October last year, we have recorded more than 500 millimeters in 1 month, just 1 month, millimeter of rain in 1 month. That means that rains are really more when they are raining, and when you miss rain, you are missing for more season. For example, when I go back to some key events, drought events, which was caused by more than 3 or 5 consecutive failure of rainy seasons. So that's the case in Somalia. The other question which was related to the infrastructure and how those flooding are really occurring in Somalia, it's really related to infrastructure because most of the flooding occurs in river areas where people, the infrastructure in the river has been hugely damaged by the conflict. Also, there's no any development regarding the infrastructure of the rivers in Somalia. There are so much sediments in the river. The banks has been cut down, and there are many, river breakages, which always subjected to flooding. And based on limited finances among the government and public institutions, really those key issues are not being properly addressed. So these are really actually, causing floods to affect more people and more families. Even in the lower areas of the country where floods affect people, even there are no water catchment facilities which catch water when there is so much raining, so much floods. So it is really both the infrastructure and also the water flow and the long time that rains are really raining and the huge water bodies that are really affecting people and also the land. So, thank you.
Okay. I have another question. So, are there any, like, do you have anything that you're doing to, like, how do I even put it? You talk about having drought that leads to animals dying and other things. So, how are you? What are you doing to, like, help
Yeah.
save that, like stop that when it comes to even, access of water being, really, really hard during that time? Are there any things that you are doing, or is there something that the government or organizations like private partners, or just something that you're doing to try to fix at least that
Yeah,
aspect?
that's a good question, Mary. I'm currently working as agriculture and climate lead at a private company. So we are primarily focusing on climate smart agriculture, which is different from the conventional farming, which is not able to withstand or cope with climate change issues or climate-induced diseases. So we're helping the farmers to actually have some kind of adaptation and mitigation strategies. We are helping with them to grow seed, drought-tolerant seeds where they can actually grow food while also there is a presence of drought, while there is a presence of shortage and water scarcity. So we are also changing how irrigation facilities are actually utilized in the country. Firstly, this based on the rivers that Somali farmers have or have access to, then they use to practice furrow irrigation, which is like flooding the hectares of the land. So due to climate change, you cannot actually practice with that kind of irrigation practice. Now we are helping the people to use drip irrigation, which is efficient and effective way that addresses some climate change. We are also, giving some kind of, climate practices or early warnings to inform them that there is an coming flood, that there is a coming flood. They have to maybe move away from lowland areas to upper areas. They have to actually use locally available, measure, flood protection measures that they can really, get. So there are certain strategies and certain, actions that are as a company that we're doing. But in general, the government has established a dedicated ministry. All the line ministry, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Water, Resources, Ministry of livestock, Ministry of Climate Change are really coordinating towards doing something, for example, closing the canals that can actually bring too many water, too many flooding to the people. They are actually working with United Nations organizations to help and build the resilience of people to actually cope with climate crisis. So there are certain initiatives in Somalia that are currently helping people to address climate change. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mohammed. Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker for today because we don't have much time left. So our next speaker for today is Dr. Nadia Hamiti. Please correct me if I'm not calling the other name right. She is a climate activist who has served as the president of Lishatia organization in Morocco. She is a doctor in the environmental engagement of the industry, and she's also the founder of Clean Transition think tank in Morocco. She also works in the field of waste management. Hello, Dr. Nadia. Are you on the call, please?
Hello,
You're
everyone.
not. Hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Okay, so over to you. I'll stop sharing so that you take us through what you have for us today.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Maggreen team, for organizing this. My presentation today will focus on the energy transition in Morocco with an overview of the climate issues and some of the topics that our friend Mohammed Osman has talked about, so you can know more about what's happening in Morocco. So the presentation is about Morocco's energy landscape, current status, and path to net zero. About the country, Morocco is located in North Africa. It's bordered by the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea, with a population of approximately 37 million people. And Morocco has made significant strides in recent years, particularly in the energy sectors. In terms of electricity access, Morocco has achieved nearly universal coverage, with over 99% of the population having access to electricity. When it comes to clean cooking, it's something else, because according to late studies, only 15% of the rural population have access to clean cooking. And it has been worse since the COVID pandemics, because the price of the gas has increased, so people cannot afford gas for cooking, and they are still using charcoal, wood, and other source of pollution, which harms their health, especially women and children. Well, some of the climate issues that Morocco is facing, I can tell you that today, in the north, it's very hot. In the south, there are floods. So you can see in the same country, we have two phases of the climate change at the same time, and with different impacts on the population and on the economy. We are facing water scarcity and drought, desertification, heat waves. Like, it's been like 6 months that we haven't seen any rain, and the temperature is increasing day after day. The sea level rise and the coastal erosion, and I live by the part of the littoral that's most impacted by the sea level rise, and we can see it every day. You can measure how the sea is increasing and how is taken from the land. We are facing also issues of energy and air pollution, because our mixed energy is based on the use of coal and other fossil fuels, because we don't have. Well, in the presentation, you will learn more about our energy transition. And we have agriculture vulnerability because of drought. Climate migration, well, rural population is more important than those who live in the cities. So it's like in every African country, people move from the rural area because of drought, because of floods, and they migrate to the cities, which creates other issues, social issues. We lose biodiversity, and there are economic impacts and also political impacts, and it creates social inequality and climate injustice. Well, what Morocco has done to face these challenges related to climate issues, I will not list every strategy, but we have many strategies, more than 12. I have listed 12, but it's every time we have to put a strategy on a paper to see how we can go through a crisis. But what we have learned as activists and as academics is that we cannot always follow a strategy, because the context change, and it's changed very, very quickly. So our strategies has to be reactive, and this is what we are doing now by reviewing all of these strategies you have on the screen and others. In matter of nationally determined contributions, the NDCs, Morocco will be presenting its reviewed NDCs in the next months, And by 2025, we will be presenting our achievements in a matter of indices in halfway until 2030, which is the last targets. We have now, as my presentation will be focusing on the energy transition, Morocco energy mix is dominated by fossil fuels, primarily coal, which accounts around 56% of electricity generation. We use natural gas and oil also, and it plays a significant role in our energy consumption. However, Morocco has become a regional leader in renewable energy, particularly solar and wind power, because we don't own the fossil fuels, we buy them. And we had some geopolitical issues that gas has been cut from a provider. So our transition to renewable energy was accelerated by the political and economical context, more than the climate context. And the country's flagship project, like Noor Wafzazat, I'm going to show you the picture, is one of the largest concentrated solar plants in the world. Actually, it's facing issues in making this solar power plants work 24 hours, 365 days a year, because it works, and then there are some technical issues, then there are some climate issues that impact the production of the solar energy that makes this complex stop its working. Like it's the case now for Noor. It has stopped, and the next it will be reopened from November 24th. This is what have announced the agency that is managing the Noor solar complex. So even if we have a big infrastructures and investments that we have taken thanks to loans from, when I say thanks, I'm sarcastic, loans from the biggest institutional financing institution like World Bank and others. So it burdens our economy, but still it's not doing their role in speeding up the energy transition in Morocco, like it was imagined when these projects has been implemented. So currently renewables account for about 37% of our installed electricity capacity, and the government has set ambitious targets to increase this share to 52% by 2030. I can tell you that now we are maybe in 32%, 30% now. This is a picture of a wind farm and one of the solar plants we have. It's very huge. These are big projects. And we are expecting a lot from these projects, like producing our own energy and export energy to Europe. But we are a little bit far from our objectives. So Morocco's net zero targets, Morocco is committed to achieve net zero carbon by 2050. It's in the strategies on the paper. And the country's energy transition is guided by the National Energy Strategy. It was launched in 2009. And it's about the development of renewable energy, energy efficiency, and reducing greenhouse gas emission. And here, as a professional I work in the private sector as a marketing and communication director in waste management company. And I can tell you that we talk a lot about decarbonation of the industry. The decarbonation will help Morocco to meet his indice as a country, but it will also allow our industry to export to Europe. That means that our relationship, the markets between Morocco and Europe is accelerating the decarbonation. Why? If you want to export to Europe, you have to give them a paper that you have decarbonized your activity from the whole value chain. So everything is connected. Everything is connected, and the private sector is playing a role in the energy transition. And we are pushing, we are making pressure on the government as private sector, but also as activists to make this transition more effective and participative and inclusive. But also we want to see it now because we don't have any time left. And key policies supporting this transition include the promotion of energy efficiency across various sectors, like the energy efficiency in the private sector and industry, and in the public administration. We have seen this. And the recent updates of the nationally determined contribution, we are talking a lot about this these days, and we're making meetings online with the African countries to see who is doing what, and how we can share experience and learn from other African countries how they are meeting better than we are doing their indices, because indices means a lot. It means that we will have access. We are good students, and that we will have access to climate finance. What are the challenges and the possible solutions for the energy transition in Morocco? We are facing challenges. It depends on imported fossil fuels. As I told you, we don't own fossil fuels of our. This is something I personally I'm not angry because we don't have fossil fuels, at least, but still we consume a lot of energy. We have big energy needs in market. So this makes us dependent on countries and other countries. And as sovereignty matter and geopolitical relationship, this is not something that can help our country to make its energy transition more efficient and to make it happen now. Financing the energy transition, well, when you finance the energy transition, that means that you are going to put billions of dollars in projects, and this makes you take loans from the financial institutions, and loans means more taxes for people. So if you can see, everything is connected, and there are some social impacts of the transition. When you shift from fossil fuels, like in my city, we have this power plants by coal power plants. People are working there. When we speak as activists that this power plant has to stop, has to close, people are asking us, what are you saying? This is my job. But we have these arguments, it's your health. And the struggle is to make to have this equation between health and job. People need to live, but we are saying that you need to save your health. But they say we have children who go to school. So this is big struggle. When your economy is based on fossil fuels and how you can exit from fossil fuels to clean energy, you have to create work and to not to educate, to build capacities, to create jobs, and to build another economy to make this energy transition good enough for everyone. What are the possible solutions? Well, enhancing renewable energy investments. So we have to continue invest in renewable energy infrastructure, particularly in solar and wind, because we have this riches, this wealth. This is a natural wealth of solar, wind and solar. It will help Morocco reduce its dependence on fossil fuels and meet its climate goals. But we hope that the climate context won't change more because it will impact this solution. And promoting energy efficiency, yes, but I will add something, is make the laws more incentive for the people and the private sector to produce and sell the energy that they will be producing from their own installation. I will give you an example. When you want, as a SME, small and medium enterprise, you can have a loan to build or implement your own solar plants. And then you will produce energy, electricity. What you can do now, today, is use the electricity you produce, and you cannot sell the excess. If you want to sell it, you sell it up to 20% in some cases. That means that you are not going to have your money back of the investment, and that there is energy loss that will, only because you can't sell it, you will lose it. You see, so this discourage the investments, the private investments, and the people also, because neighborhoods can invest and produce their own energy by solar. And as a conclusion, well, Morocco is at a critical juncture in its energy journey. When we have put this strategy on the paper, it was clean, but the context and the wars has impacted the journey. And the country, even if it has made significant progress in renewable energy, and we are really happy because I was in Dar es Salaam last month, and as a Moroccan, I see that things are slow. But in this African gathering, more of the participants were saying, we want to visit Morocco to see what's happening with what you are doing in renewables. So it has opened my eyes that it's not a bad scenario. We need to improve it, and we need to learn more from other African countries, because there are some countries that have made a good job, and we should have this humility of the learners, and to learn from each other. I can say that we are leader in some fields, but in others we have to learn a lot. And I really thank you for organizing this, and I'm open to answer to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nadia. I mean, this is excellent presentation. Thank you very much. Anyone has a question? I'm seeing people are celebrating you for a wonderful presentation. So anyone has anything to ask? Miss.
Hi.
Okay. Oh, okay, Mohammed. Hi, over to
Hello.
you. You can go on. Yes, yes.
Thank you, Sister Nadia, for the productive insight you shared by Morocco, and how Morocco is really trying to implement the energy, clean energy for its people. I want to understand what are the key sources of energy in Morocco, And also the other question I want to ask you is how energy access is can be improved for women and vulnerable groups in Morocco. So those are two questions I wanted to exactly know. Actually, there is another key issue that Dr. Nadia has highlighted. It is, cross-learning. Countries, even the neighboring countries with Morocco, has actually come to Morocco and see how Morocco's strategy towards energy and how they are, planning. Then it can be a best practice, sharing knowledge, and then they can actually replicate those initiatives that Morocco is implementing in their own countries. And even we as Africans, we need to be actually cross-learn from each other. We actually need to visit each other, share experiences, ideas, and thoughts how we can actively and properly contribute to the development of our people, because these climate change issues, these global warming issues are really affecting us more than any country in the world. So thank you very much, Nadia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. Can you please just the first point? What was, because there was a little problem in Zoom.
Thank you. What are the energy sources? Where do we get the
Energy
energy?
sources. Okay,
Yeah, energy in Morocco.
fine. And second
And
one,
how the accessibility of energy to the vulnerable groups like women in Morocco and maybe marginalized groups, how they are accessing the energy.
okay.
How is government helping them, and the private sector maybe is helping them to get affordable energy.
The third one is about learning from the experiences.
Yeah. And the sources, what are the key sources of energy in Morocco? Yeah.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry. There is something. The key sources of what?
Of energy in Morocco.
Yeah, this is the first one. Yes. Second one, accessibility of energy, and the third point.
The third point was not a question. It was more
okay,
like
okay.
Yeah.
I understand. Thank you. I'm ready to answer. What are the energy sources now? We have coal, gas. We have hydroelectricity, but at very small amount, because we are under drought, and solar, wind. These are the most important sources of energy. We can use the power of the waves, but still, because we are bordered by the Atlantic and Mediterranean Sea, we have this possibility. But the technology is it's not affordable. It's very expensive, but it's one of the possibilities to use the power of waves to have energy. Now, how is the energy accessible to vulnerable population and women? In the presentation, I said that 15% of rural population only have access to clean cooking. That gives you an idea about what all the struggles they have to collect wood, use charcoal, the suffocation risks. But as of electrification, Morocco has 99% of coverage. This is something, but you cannot use electricity in cooking, because they cannot afford the electricity cook. You see, they have electricity, they have lights in their habitation, but not also, they cannot heat during the winter, because they don't have access to the heater, or they have to buy it. And it will make their consumption of electricity more expensive. So vulnerable people can have access to lights at a very low price, but not have access to all the comforts and what can make their life easy if they do not buy the equipments. And the equipments costs are expensive, and it will make their bill more important, so they will never have access to it. And women and children are the most impacted by this. Also by the fact that clean cooking is not yet affordable. Because men, due to climate change, move from the rural area and they go to the city. And those who stay in the village are women. And you know, Morocco has lots of mountains, and this vulnerable population we are talking about live in the mountains. That means that it's inaccessible. Yeah, even if you want to, during winter, they cannot go to the next city, and people from other areas cannot go to them because the roads are blocked by the la neige. What is la neige? Snow. Yeah, snow. And floods make it difficult. So yeah, you have electricity, but you don't have the comfort that goes with electricity. And you don't have access to clean cooking, and women still have to go and pick the wood and use charcoal and take care of the elderly because they stay at the village, and men go to work. They come back once a year or twice a year during the big feast of Eid al-Adha. And this is the reality. It's not, I can say that it's not as sad as I'm telling this as a story, but this is because I'm an activist. I warm up easily about these subjects, but I can tell you that things are handled. Things are handled, but it's very slow. It's very slow. And people, those in the government, decision makers, I see that we don't have the same, we don't see the time, the same point of view. They don't have the same perception of time. I hope I have answered the first and the second question. And as a reaction to what you have added about the collaboration between the African countries, I have spent more than 7 years since the COP22 that was organized in Morocco, dealing with the North, with American and European. And I was frustrated. Why? Because I was like a student that was taught how they did everything before us and they did it well. This is not true. And their reality is not ours. So when I began, it's been like only 2-3 years that I'm working closely with the African civil society, I feel better. I feel that we have a lot to do, and we have a very rich continent, and as human beings, we are very clever because from nothing, we do a lot, and we can do it together. And this is this kind of initiative, we have to push it in front of all the institutions or the philanthropics and say, whoa, Africa can do it itself. We can work together to find solutions. We don't need you as not listen. How do you say it? When they give you lessons, okay, we can hear you. We can read books about your failures as North and learn from your bad experiences. And also, we have a lot to do to take our rights back in matter of climate finance. We don't want loans. No loans. They have to give us the money back they took. I will stop here because I feel the activism is raising, and I'm I'm trying to be to give a good impression at the first collaboration with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Like, we look forward to working with you again. We love the spirit, the energy, and everything. Like, these are the type of young activists that we want, that we need in Africa for us to, you know, for us to progress well in the fight against climate change. Thank you very much, Dr. Nadia and Mr. Mohammed, for taking your time to join us today. We are really grateful. Like, we appreciate you for your time. We know you're busy people, took your time to join us. Thank you. So before we end, just want to ask for your help in helping us, because so far we've been able to get, 65% of African countries to participate in this webinar series. So now we're looking for speakers from these countries. Maybe you know someone that knows someone that's an activist that is doing well in each of these countries. You can easily just recommend them to us, or just send their email, or you can as well, because this is a team. Maggreen is a team. You're part of the team now, so you definitely contribute with them to us in one way or the other. Send the name of the person, or you can reach out saying, Maggreen is organizing this. They want young, vibrant activists like you, someone that is a professional, to come and tell us about what's going on in your country. It's an Africa Energy series. You can reach out to us via our social media platforms, Maggreen on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And then you can send us an email via maggreen360@gmail.com. We are so grateful for our speakers for today. Please reach out to us if you have any suggestions or recommendations for speakers in each of these countries that are listed. We really, really appreciate that. So this is where we cut the curtains for today. Thank you all for your time. This session has been really interactive and insightful. The presentations were excellent. Once more, I want to thank Dr. Nadia and Mr. Usman for the time that they took to prepare the presentation and then come and then help us to learn more about Somalia and Morocco. We're grateful and we look forward to partnering with both of you again soon. Please, you should just stay connected with Maggreen through our social media platforms, and then you'll be updated on what's next with Maggreen. With this, I say have a nice weekend and thank you for Maggreen. We appreciate. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a lovely weekend.
Bye.